I recently did a poll on my YouTube community tab asking what you guys' favorite matchup in StarCraft 2 currently is. And it seems that a lot of you have voted for Zerg versus Terran. Now, if you're a fan of ZVT, you're gonna get a kick out of this game, especially if you're a fan of Siege Tanks and Thors. There's gonna be a whole lot of Siege Tanks and Thors in this particular game. So we find ourselves on the map Gresan and spawning right here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones, representing the rebellion. We're looking inside of the main base of Lambo. His opponent playing for Liquid, playing with the red Terran SCVs in the opposite corner of the map. We're looking at none other than Kelazhur's main command center. Alrighty, so this particular game was played during HomeStory Cup 23. I've already seen the game, but it's amazing. So yeah, if you're a fan of high-level StarCraft, I think you'll get a kick out of this one for sure. Alrighty, standard openers here for the both of them, as far as I can remember. Generally speaking, I mean, both of these guys do like playing standard StarCraft 2. But in the last few times I've seen Kelazhur play Terran versus Zerg, and maybe this is just coincidence. Maybe I just happened to see the games where he's playing mech, but he certainly seems to be a fan of that mechanical-based army. A lot of Terrans right now, especially the top-tier Terrans, they're playing Bio almost every single time, so they're going into that Marine Marauder base unit composition. Right now, I've seen Kelazhur go for a lot of Terran mech. So usually Terran mech, it is all about the Hellions, the Siege Tanks, the Thors, eventually maybe some Liberators, a whole lot of Ghosts, a much more vanilla and slower moving army. Lambo, most of the time, likes to play that macro-focused style. He's certainly not afraid to mix it up, but in my mind, he very much so is a macro Zerg who doesn't really have any particular weaknesses. Maybe in the European scene, he gets overshadowed a little bit by guys like, for example, Raynar and Serral, just because they've been more, successful in tournaments, right? And I guess that's completely fair, but Lambo certainly is ranked amongst the very best players on the European server. And actually, these days, Kelazhur, he lives in the Netherlands, so he also competes exclusively on the European server, at the very least, as far as I know. Anyways, Reaper coming across the map. We're going to be going into double Marine on the back of this too, which is a little bit interesting. 4 Zerglings here waiting. Drone, okay, already hiding over at the third base, and I do believe that that one is going to be turning itself into a hatchery as soon as Lambo, can actually afford it. That was actually kind of an important little caveat right there, a little asterisk right there to the third base timing. Lambo, he purposefully delayed it, because if you get this third base there going right at 300 minerals, you don't actually have the resources to save that drone by morphing it into a spore crawler. So Lambo actually delayed his third hatchery there just a little bit to try and, save that one worker of his. Okay. Yeah, he still needs to be careful though. That Reaper is not quite done yet. This is straight 1-1-1 actually here from Kelazhur. So a little bit more of a, I guess we can call this an old school approach. Back in the day, we used to see, one command center, right, on the low ground, eventually, right, second command center, that is. Then we would see a factory on the back of it, and then eventually a starport. These days, the most popular variant of this build, okay, actually, a couple Zerglings in the meantime as well on the other side of the map. They're gonna finish up link speed. That's why we saw a drone kill inside of the main base. Okay, looks like it's an eye for an eye. Yep, 1 SCV for 1 drone. These days, we usually see the 1-1-1 with a third command center before the starport. So usually right now we see barracks, command center, factory, command center, starport. But in this particular case, it's barracks, command center, factory, starport, and then eventually, I would imagine a command center over there at the front. It's a small difference, but this does mean that Kelazhur has got more tech here earlier on. And what is he producing? It's a Raven first. Now that's interesting. Cloak on the back of this too, although this could just be to fake it out right here to Lambo. Yeah, Lambo is gonna see the green light over here. He's already seen the depots at the front. That's really all he needs to know, because that's a clear indicator that this is not going to be a quick third command center. We should be seeing one dropping down here momentarily though. Especially with Kelazhur right now, not really producing as many Hellions anymore. There it is. Okay, it's actually going down inside of the main base. Marine over here does finish the job eventually. More links going around the map, and actually really do like that. There's not a lot of vision here for the Terran player at the top section, and once again, Lambo is going to be able to run in Zerglings. And this time around, I actually think it's going to hurt a whole lot more. Last time around, at least there were some Terran units ready to defend. Right now, it's just Jimmy. Jimmy, the Overlord murderer. Got a feeling he's a very brave man, but he's also very dead. 5 SCVs already going down. Actually, a little bit of indecisiveness as well from Kelazhur. Decided to run a bunch of those Hellions back home, and now they're once again on the side of the Zerg. That is 8 SCVs going down in total, which is absolutely tremendous. And at this point, well, yeah, there's not really a whole lot of kills yet, right? No drones being roasted at the same time by Kelazhur either. He did deny some of the creep. I guess that's nice, right? That's one of the reasons why we decided to go for a Raven here. The Raven, of course, functions as a detector, so you don't actually need to scan, but not ideal. Fantastic start right here for the German Zerg. Okay. Armory coming up actually already. Right at the back of the natural expansion here of Kelazhur. This is gonna get scouted as well by... Oh, well, it could get scouted by Lambo if he runs the Ling on over in that direction. Okay, well, he still sees that there's production over here as well, outside that... or on that factory, rather, so... That's probably all he really needs to know. Hellbat push coming up right now. Okay, at this point, it's only queens and Zerglings. This Hellbat push is kind of scary, but that's a lot of queens. We're all the way up to 8. A lot of energy available as well for those queens in the back. Great positioning here by Lambo. And honestly, cleaning this up like an absolute champ so far. Again, other than that single drone that Reaper killed some time ago, this is a terrible start right here for Kelazhur. Yeah. Okay. So, double factory on the back of this. Third command center at this point is done. But all of those units that he produced to try and harass the Zerg, none of them have really worked out. And at this point, we're talking 46 SCVs versus 65 drones. Evolution chambers inside of the main base right here for Lambo. He's now seen that his opponent is likely to play Terran Mech, so he decides to go into a Roach-based army. I really do like that choice. Lingbane is still doable too. Maybe Hydra Lingbane would be a good transition at that point, but Roach Ravager usually does feel a whole lot more comfortable. Lynx once again at the bottom of the map, and this has been a thorn in Kelazhur's side. Those few Zerglings here and there really putting in a lot of damage. Maybe a few of these Hellions will now also go down. Okay, yeah, 2 Hellions going down right there for those Lynx. Banshees in the main base, or in the meantime, in the main base. In the mean base, nice. Going to town right over here. Against whatever they can, but this is just a horrendous start right here for the Terran. This is the exact opposite of what he had intended. Losing basically everything and dealing basically no damage. Yeah, 2 drones here in total. Lambo at this point gets to do whatever he likes. Now, what does he like to do? He could be droning right now, and I really wouldn't mind that, but I think that at this point, Kelazhur is looking at this game, and he's like, okay, I've done so much damage, I'm gonna try and see if I can obtain the victory right here, right now. We've got Roach Speed done. We've got 3 Drupal Lords coming up as well. And the Queens, they're going on a little field trip. Not everybody fits in the plane. I'm sorry. One more of you could get in. There you go. Sorry, Brenda. You're the only one that gets to stay home, apparently. But I don't actually think that it's necessarily a bad thing, because many of these ladies are likely not to survive this. Okay. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, we've got Cyclones and Hellions right here. Kelazhur trying to set himself up to defend this, but he knows that he's playing against something aggressive. He just doesn't know exactly what it's going to be. A very interesting attack right here from Lambo as he brings the Queens across the map. Now, this is a good start, though. The anti-armor missile, reducing the, well, effectiveness right here of that Roach armor. Banshee cloaking here as well. We do need the Overseer a little bit closer by, because at this point, there's no way for Zerg to actually see this. The Overlords do start dropping a little bit of creep, and that allows those Zerg Queens to transfuse each other, which is real nice. Banshees, though, have done a lot of damage here already, sniping a bunch of those important units. 9 SCVs go down. Lambo decides to drop a bunch of creep over here, but he's not done just yet. Siege tank over here in the natural, actually shutting down those creep tubers before they finished up. Queens right now managed to get across that wall, but in the end, the siege tanks are holding really strong. Most of the Drupal Lords, actually all of the Drupal Lords at this point, seem to be gone. Ooh, and that makes it difficult for the Zerg to continue this aggression. Okay. Really solid defense right there from Kelazhur. He needed a little bit of luck, but he certainly, did manage to hold on here. Hyperflight Rotor starts up immediately for Kelazhur. He looks at the amount of Banshees that are still available for him, and he realizes, yo, this is what I need right now, and I really don't mind it. We're gonna go into a siege tank transition right now. 4th Command Center starts up at the front, and Kelazhur right now finds himself at 62 workers versus 74. Sniping those Drupal Lords there was absolutely critical, because the Queens definitely would have, continued onwards with their aggression. Now it's Kelazhur, who's got 7 siege tanks available. It's a bit of a risky move out right now, but he's only really seen, well, Queens and, I guess, Roaches. Both of those units are very, very vulnerable. He's got a good couple of units still remaining here as well after that early game aggression. Scan over here reveals all of those tumors, and I guess now the siege tanks also tell to the Zerg, yeah, this is where I'm gonna be pushing from next. Is this an overextension though from Kelazhur? I mean, he's 50-ish supply behind right now on his opponent, but how in the world do you push into this? I really wouldn't mind it though if Kelazhur decides to go back from here, because this is an ambitious move. I think he's mostly just trying to scare the Zerg, and yeah, he does indeed decide to go back home. Hive has been fired up a little while ago here for Lambo. With this amount of siege tanks, what you really need is Vipers. Both Abduction as well as Blinding Cloud, of course, an amazing ability. Okay, ooh, nice cutoff right there though. He does get one tank. Yep, one tank. Does he get the second one? I think he will. Good work right here. Fourth command center is done. Now on this map, getting the fourth over here, yeah. That's the move that all the Terran players make these days. They used to go for the more, well, tucked away base over here on the right side of the map, but I actually think that this center base is so much better. Planetary Fortress in this location is just tremendously powerful. Lambo at this point had only 72 workers, and the same can be said for Kelazhur. So despite the fact that Kelazhur was, well, what almost seemed to be down and out not that long ago, is now him being ahead. Or at least, you know, him being stable. At least as far as the work account goes. Lambo decides to go for a push over here at the Planetary Fortress. Well, the Planetary Fortress to be. And this is actually a little too slow right here from Kelazhur. He loses that base. Banshees, though, at this point can deal a lot of damage. There's not that many Hydras here, but... okay, yeah. They don't have their ranged upgrade yet. I guess that the Banshees can continue dealing some damage. Okay. Fort CC restarts immediately. Losing that one really does suck. Lambo at this point maxed out, but on a very mediocre unit composition. Roach Hydra with a few Ravagers and Vipers is by no means amazing. Ghost Academy coming up together with what seems to be 3 barracks with tech labs. So we're gonna be going into that Ghost Mech army, which is considered to be the ultimate unit composition. I really like the fact actually that Lambo decided to go into 5 Vipers here. Which is a little bit more than what we normally see, but in this situation I really don't mind it. Couple Cyclones and Hellbats here. At the bottom of the map, trying to get some work done. Okay. Good abductions, yeah. Those Vipers are super annoying, right? Cyclones are expensive units, and that's like 4 or 5 of them going down right there in total. Not bad whatsoever. Now, does Lambo have a transition from here? It doesn't really look like it. Okay, yeah, we're starting up a Spire right now with that Banshee going down in the top left-hand corner. There was a little bit of a lag spike over here. Just as I was winning, says Kelazhur. That's a little tongue-in-cheek, because the fact that he just lost that base in the center is, of course, an absolute disaster for him. Not where you want to be at all. I think it was doing really well just before that, though. Still 80 SCVs, and still a lot of siege tanks available. Look at this siege tank defense. Yeah, good luck trying to push into that. I mean, technically speaking, Vipers are the counter, but there are so many missile turrets set up that it's difficult for those Vipers to get into a good position. 9 drones have gone down over here. Okay. They're gonna get shut down. Lambo, transitioning right now towards melee upgrades together with Adrenal Glands. Hive coming up as well. One unit, of course, that's very good against against these siege tanks as well would be Brute Lords. Spoiler alert in my own commentary. Going into, Blinding Cloud right here on missile turrets is exactly what Lambo is doing right now. Look at the amount of Blinding Clouds. He wants to push forward once again. The Planetary Fortress has temporarily been reduced as well in range, but is there enough for the Zerg to break through this? He really wants to get that Planetary, but he doesn't get it. And this is one of the problems you run into as a Zerg player on Gresan. The Zerg players at HomeStory Cup were actually, well, I was gonna say memeing, but they were actually very serious about it. They're saying that in a best of 3 series, so this one game is from a best of 3, they're saying that in a best of 3 series, you're playing 3 Terran maps. So, according to the Zerg players that I've been talking to, all of them agree, and, you know, you gotta take their opinions with a grain of salt, of course, because they're obviously biased, but all of them agree that currently, in the Terran versus Zerg matchup, there are 5 Terran maps in the current map pool, and there are 2 Zerg maps. And since Terrans will always be vetoing in a best of 3 both of the Zerg maps, they're always forced to play, Terran maps. I don't really know exactly how true that statement is, but it certainly does seem that some of these maps... So Lambo apparently, well, not vetoing Gresan. It certainly does seem that some of these maps make it very difficult for the Zerg to engage into some of these choke points. And despite a pretty rough start in this game, and, well, a bunch of ghosts now also finding their deaths, Kelazhur has managed to turtle his way all the way up to now 5 command centers, and he's building a few more. These siege tanks nicely positioned, actually. Yeah, I thought they were maybe a little too far forward, but they sieged up in time, and they're going to be able to kill most of those roaches and hydras, and at the very least push them back. If the roaches and hydras would move forward, I think that would be a disaster. Brute Lords are coming up. Brute Lords an amazing unit, against this Terran Mech army, but also a unit that's a little bit difficult to actually get out in plentiful numbers. Usually 8 Brute Lords, I mean, they're nice, but against full-on Turtle Terran, especially once they transition towards both Ghosts as well as Thors, 8 Brute Lords don't really achieve that much. I think the main goal for them right now, though, is that they're hopefully, for Zerg, are going to catch the Terran player off guard. Because at this point, he's not really seen any of this tech. He doesn't really know what he's playing against. These Brute Lords are suddenly going to appear. This is the first time he sees them. Thor is already on the production tab, however. Thors are very good against the Broods. The main thing right now that, yeah, Terra needs to do, I guess, is deal with all of these Brute Lords by using the Ghosts. Now, that was a bad start right there to that fight. A bunch more of the Ghosts end up getting sniped. Immediate move out, though, here from Kelazhur, and I love this attack. This is a really cute little attack. He's basically saying, yo, I did not expect this. I know I'm going to lose a command center or two. It's going to be difficult for me to defend at home without my Thors. They're coming, but I don't really need all of my siege tanks, and I don't really need all of my Hellbeds. So instead, I'm going to go for a counterattack. Command center in the middle of the map has gone down. Command center up here also now disappeared. Lambo is going to continue the aggression, but in the meantime, Kelazhur has taken care of one of the bases of the Zerg, and he can continuously push right there on the left side of the map. At this point, Big Daddy Thor is out, 2 of them available. Couple more here on the production tab as well. Big blinding cloud over there, allowing those roaches and hydras to move forward. So many SCVs have already gone down, but these 8 Brute Lords, man, maybe Thors are good against them, but you do actually need Thors, and when there's only a single one available, it's very difficult to get much done, especially when you're stuck in the natural over here. They don't really have a lot of wiggle room. In the meantime, that base on the left side here, that one at the 9 o'clock, also gets sniped, so that's the second hatchery right here that Kelazhur has destroyed. Terran has lost, I think, 3 command centers so far, but it looks like eventually the Zerg army decides to go back, or I say that, all of the Brute Lords have been destroyed. Siege tanks here sieging up right now. Banshees that were left over from the early game now also will be sacrificed, and eventually all of these tanks are gonna get demolished. Okay, so where do we end up? Zerg losing slightly more resources in this game overall, but Lambo has also been mining slightly more than his opponent. Kelazhur did lose a lot of command centers, yes, but he already made additional command centers too. Blue Flame at this point is done, and actually this is a fantastic attack as well. Killing a bunch of those drones, very painful right here for the Terran player. One thing though that Terran really needs is new SCVs, because 48 SCVs is definitely too little. That's not as many as you're looking for. Armor upgrades here coming up as well for any sort of air unit that might be coming up next. But for the time being, it looks like Lambo has decided to go back towards Vipers, Roaches, Ravagers, and Hydralisks. With that planetary fortress gone in the center of the map, Kelazhur has replaced it with one of his spare orbitals. This does mean, of course, that this base is a lot easier to attack into, but still there's so many siege tanks available. Is there enough for Zerg to push through this? He's trying to bow down whatever he can. Thor over there is forced to back off, but the siege tank numbers here are through the roof. 8 of them available at this point. 19 of them have already gone down. Imagine now if Kelazhur didn't lose like 5-6 ghosts here for essentially free throughout this game, right? Like we saw those ghosts a little overextended. I actually think if he would have had those two in the mix here, this would have been an advantage for him. I think this would have been an advantage. Anyways, in this particular case, I don't think I like this position for him all too much, but this is a pretty flimsy Zerg army over here, right? It's not a particularly tanky one, and it's certainly not one that can just attack into all of those siege tanks and Thors. They're likely going to die before they get even remotely close right here to these tanks. Pathogen Glands, the Hydralisk energy upgrade right now coming up here for Lambo. He does have quite a bit of gas in the bank, so adding on some infestors is not a bad choice. Hatcheries on the left side of the map are being remade. I think that's a great idea. Some corrosive balls here from the low ground. That Overlord here providing high ground vision. Cute little move right here from Lambo, and actually very effective. Okay. Roach Ravager, Lingbane, Hydra, Viper. It's a unit composition. It's a very aggressive unit composition. Yeah, if you want to trade efficiently with this, I think you're going to need a big economy on the back of it. 71 drones does not really sound like a big economy to me at all. He does, however, have the +3 carapace upgrade finishing up soon. Can we get some abductions over here? We will get some abductions. Still, though, those siege tanks are dealing a lot of damage. Good positioning here on the tanks as well, by the way, from Kelazhur. Okay. As far as the income goes, Lambo has been ahead, somewhat. As far as the army goes, yeah. This is when those fights took place. Lambo has been pushing ahead in that department. Blue Frame Hellbats here, trying to spot whatever's going on. A scan over there reveals the angle that Zerg is going to be coming in from next. More blinding clouds over here on more siege tanks, and they're all going to get picked off. Neural Parasite coming up for Lambo. 4 siege tanks here at once. So for Kelazhur, it's critical here that he doesn't overmake Thors and that he doesn't overmake siege tanks. He needs to, yeah, balance those units properly. Because if he suddenly makes too many tanks, then once again, Brute Lords are going to be out. If he makes too many Thors, however, just Roach Hydra is going to be amazing. Okay. Sensor tower over there didn't happen, but immediately a new one is going to be produced. Hatchery up north. Very ambitious location. I think this one over here, or maybe even this base, might be a little bit more reasonable. Because this is, of course, the spot where Terran's been putting all of their defenses. And Kelazhur is indeed starting up the slow push in that direction. New command center just finished up. That one's going to morph into an orbital command as well. We have already another CC here. Getting a planetary on this high ground would be amazing. I actually really do like the missile turrets here. The missile turrets in general are just preventing the Zerg from getting too close and personal with those Vipers. And, well, actually, how many Vipers do we have? I think quite a few of them have gone down. Yeah, 8 Vipers have actually been destroyed in this game. 24 siege tanks. I'm gonna keep an eye out on the amount of siege tanks. We are currently at 24 dead siege tanks and 19 on the battlefield. There are actually so many tanks. It might be a moment where you actually want to aim for like 30 plus Brute Lords. I would not mind seeing that, but Lambo currently doesn't really have a whole lot of gas. He's planning on winning the game right here with his army that he's got right now. He's got a good amount of links on the back of this too. They are well upgraded, of course, and he does clean up a whole lot of tanks. Siege tanks, very expensive units. Even more clumped up tanks over here. Kelazhur gets shut down. Kelazhur is getting absolutely shut down over here. But again, Lambo doesn't have a lot of money. I really don't like his drone count very much. 75 drones seems too little to play this particular unit composition. Bit of a roller coaster of an army size here over the course of this game. Lambo, though, trying to keep his opponent contained. I think on another map where you can actually force your opponent to be on like 4, maybe 5 bases, that's a whole lot more reasonable. But in this particular case, yeah, we've already got a solid economy right here for Kelazhur. And he's looking to take another base up north. If that base is taken, I think this entire unit composition from Lambo has been a failure. Because he really needs to make sure that he contains the Terran. Like, his style here seems to reflect primarily on... it would do really well if the Terran player is contained on a certain amount of bases and then eventually runs out and is then forced to, for example, step on creep. But Kelazhur slowly but surely, methodically moving his army around. Now baiting the entire Zerg army there. Just with a couple of Hellions. Okay. Lambo reads the situation as well, though, and he decides to go into 85 drones here in total. I think that's an excellent number. Going for another base over here at the bottom of the map. Not a bad idea, because this very slow-moving Terran army is only just now established here at the north. Kelazhur could move down south, but it would be a little bit risky. Knocking down these rocks would actually be good, yeah. So you can set up surrounds a little bit easier once Terran does get down that ramp. Okay, we have one Infestor available here and a bunch of Spine Crawlers, which is really not that great. Okay, Fungal Growth, I guess, is going to be nice, but quite a few drones end up going down here once again. Lambo has seen the amount of siege tanks. He decides to now go into a bunch of Brute Lords once again, but Kelazhur one step ahead of him. Now going into 4 additional Thors all at once. The explosion command center, or the command center explosion, or command center the explosion. Explosion de command center. Something like that. Anyways, he's adding on a whole lot more CCs is what I'm saying. And those command centers are going to be absolutely amazing when he wants to mine, well, these bases very rapidly. Kelazhur is now at a point where he could actually look for less workers than what he's currently at. Because if he has less workers, that means he's got more supply available to actually make army with. Lambo moving down south. Very exposed group of Brute Lords here. Nuke coming up as well for Kelazhur. These Brutes are exposed, but there are Vipers on the back of this with a whole lot of Lingbane Hydra. Those Lingbane Hydra mostly just meant here to snipe all of the ghosts. Lambo probably assuming that there are more ghosts than there actually are here. That CC in a little bit of trouble, but yeah, I mean, I don't like these Brutes in this location at all. They're just getting murdered. Don't think that was the angle. At the same time, we have some Hellbats here up north trying to go after one of those Zerg bases. We already have that command center taken here up north as well, right next to it. So at this point, Zerg and Terran have become neighbors. Much to the delight of Terran players. Lambo probably not so happy. As we all know, Zerg players are introverted and don't want to actually meet their neighbors, other than whenever there's like a package delivered to their place or something like that. No, but Terrans definitely do want to be close, right? Their siege units here are amazingly powerful. Okay, is he going to be able to grab these units? He's actually thinking about just committing over here. Nah, that would be very dangerous. Siege tanks do siege up here. Okay, 14 tanks still available, 9 Thors. I love the addition of the Raven here as well. Very nice to have. Maybe do something though with these command centers. Maybe not a bad call. Maybe these are just backups in case these bases in the center of the map die. He's going for a lot of additional CCs though. Okay, building armor coming up. Additional armor, high-sec auto tracking, not a bad idea either. We don't have that. No, we already do have that one. That gives the missile turrets and the planetaries 1 additional range, which doesn't sound significant, but high-sec auto tracking is not to be underestimated. One problem here actually for Kelazhur is that yes, he does have orbital commands, and that's nice and all. He doesn't actually, or sorry, he does have ghosts and all that, which is nice and all, but he doesn't actually have any upgrades for the ghosts. So normally with Ghost Mech, you do actually go for engineering base primarily to get your upgrades for those ghosts. Especially the armor is really nice, but also just their auto attacks are amazing. Kelazhur finally maxed out right now, decides to go for a fight over here at the bottom of the map. He's been trying to max out the entire time long, but he finds himself in a horrible engagement. Decides to fight the Zerg in a choke point over here. Thors get knurled. Every single Terran unit there got freaking blinding clouded. That was one of the absolute worst engagements Kelazhur could have ever taken. His entire game plan was to max out on Ghost with, well, Mech, right? Like, that's been the unit composition he's been building up, and he just got shut down. Oh my god, okay, that was a horrendous engagement. I really don't like that move. I think if you're gonna slow push in a direction, you should have probably, well, pushed through the center, or at the very least go up north. I mean, I don't think this attack over here was the fight he needed to take. He did not expect the Zerg to be ready to collapse all over that army. So kudos to Lambo right there for taking that engagement. Now it's Lambo who gets to be on the offensive once again. I actually think Kelazhur was at an advantage right before that fight he just took. That was incredibly expensive. If we look at the resources lost, I mean, it's still in favor of the Terran, but it's not nearly as good as it previously was. Tactical nuke over here on his own basis. Not ideal, but he's just trying to get this Zerg player to disappear. Brute Lords now go into the main base. And this is annoying. I mean, Vikings are obviously an option. Thors would be nice to have as well, but we need something to reposition the Thors. Yeah, we only have a single medevac here, which is not going to be quite enough. Okay. This is where the production of Kelazhur is at. He doesn't have additional factories or anything like that out on the map. Yeah, he's making some new ones over here right now on the right side, over at that, well, very tucked away expansion at the 3 o'clock. I think that's the right call. That does indicate, though, that he's ready to give up his main base. And if you're going to give up the main base, I think you should probably fly these units out. He has remade a lot, though. Kelazhur remaxed once again. He needs to take a better engagement this time around, because if he doesn't, he's going to be in a world of trouble. Fungal Growth right there on the Ghosts already. Fungal Growth and Blinding Cloud as well on some of the Thors. And apparently this is the moment where a bunch of the siege tanks are not ready to engage this. Lambo coming in as well right now, once again with those Infestors, taking a phenomenal engagement. Engagement rather, 2 times in a row. The Thors right now are fighting the Thors here, which is not what you want to have happen at all as Kelazhur. And oh man, Kelazhur gets shut down once again, losing 2 very important fights. His entire game plan, right? His entire strategy in this game has been to try and max out. And he's maxed out twice. It took him 30 minutes to max out twice. Right now his bank is mostly gone. It's going to be difficult for him to continue this. Amazing fight, of course, by Lambo, right? Handling the spellcasting right there absolutely brilliantly. It's very difficult for the Zerg player to actually, well, handle all of these different units because the majority of them do need a separate hotkey. Neural Parasites once again here on the ramp. The 2, well, Thors are fighting one another once again. And now we have a tactical nuke even closer to his own bases. The Ghost over here is the one casting it, and that one did get sniped. So the tactical nuke also disappears. Units though coming out of these factories here on the right side of the map, and they are popping out. Can we get some scans, please? We really need some scans here. Yeah, now it's a little too late. Now the neural parasites have already gone off. Oh, every single time it seems that Lambo is getting the jump on Kelazhur in these engagements. Okay. Well, he needs to be careful that he doesn't overextend. It's not like Lambo has got a whole lot of money in the bank. He did take this base over here at the bottom of the map, which is nice and all. Okay, Blinding Clouds once again. Yeah, big Blinding Cloud to shut down a bunch of those tanks. Do we have enough for more? No, we do not have enough for more. Well, at least not Neural Parasites. And these Thors are not messing around, man. It really does show what a glass cannon the Hydralisk is. Another command center is gonna get sniped. Yeah, and Lambo is trying to go into the main base right here of the Terran, right? This is the soft underbelly of the Terran player. That siege tank driving away as far as possible. Maybe thinking about sieging up, but it's not going to happen. Okay. The main base of the Terran has been sacrificed. Kelazhur does still have mining over here up north, but what's most important right now for Lambo is that he takes both of those bases here at the bottom, right? So he's or I guess both of these like bases that are mirrored from one another. So this one over here and the one all the way up north. These bases are important because if you mine them out, it means that the Terran player cannot mine them anymore. One of those bases was supposed to be the Terrans, and Kelazhur does not seem to be in a position where he can actually push for one of those. Okay. How many dead siege tanks are we on? 60. 60 dead siege tanks at this point, together with 27 Thors. That is a lot. 16 Queens have gone down as well. Honestly, an absolute bloodbath here. But look at the amount of resources lost. Zerg has really evened it up. And at this point, Lambo has just been mining so much more than his opponent over the course of this game. There were moments where Kelazhur was ahead, both in army as well as in economy, but in a lot of these engagements, at the very least, he's getting out-controlled very, very heavily. He now sees what's going on over here up north. He decides to steal a bunch of the minerals here, but Spine Crawlers managed to shut down those mules before they even mine anything. Another command center here burning. Okay, Kelazhur just making whatever he can. New Ghost Academy starts up. He's got all of these orbital commands, which is nice and all, but no place for them to really drop their mules. Although he does have scans for days. That's what my main issue is, right? Like, he had scans there available, but he still did not see those units coming in. Lambo now just fishing for whatever he can get. Yep, getting another siege tank. Add it to the list. Okay. Lambo not maxed out here. Mostly just trying to figure out what unit he should be producing. I actually don't mind the idea of seeing 9 additional Corruptors here. I think going into a round of Brute Lords would be absolutely amazing. Okay. SCVs are running out of jobs. All of their jobs are being automated. AI is taking over in StarCraft 2. Another starport is coming up. I think Kelazhur should stop making all these structures, though, because he's making so much, but, like, he's got no gas. So he's spending his last gas right here on 2 additional factories, as well as a starport. I don't think that's what you want to do. There is some gas remaining, I suppose, in these bases, but he really should just spend his resources right here on units. Okay, snipes going down right here on all of the Vipers. Nice moves right here, though, by Kella. Trying his very best to get rid of as many of those Zerg units as he can find. Okay, he once again managed to slow down the game. That's what he's been trying to do for a while. But I think in this particular instance, he's bleeding out. Yeah, he's not really in a position where he can... Well, maybe he can max out one more time if he's given enough time. Ooh. An old trick right here from the Zerg player. Sorry, I'm just backing up in the replay a little bit. This is not really something that we see very often anymore. But basically what Lambo did here is make a bunch of Spore Crawlers. Then he morphs in 9 Brute Lords. And then he cancels the Spore Crawlers, allowing him to go up to 204 supply. Kinda cute. Not really something we see very frequently anymore in 2023. Tactical nuke. Oh, I have my camera hotkey still set up on the Ghost Academy that is long gone. Lambo sees the red dot. Decides to run away. Maybe some of the spines are gonna hurt, but I don't think that Lambo really cares. Lambo playing this conservatively because the siege tank count once again is through the roof. 16 tanks available, 61 have already died. So many siege tanks in one game. Actually so funny, we don't usually see this many tanks, but my god. Kelazhur's favorite unit apparently. Okay, with all of the tanks though, down south, I think this is the moment where Lambo can start fighting this pretty easily. Yeah. He's got a bit of a bank as well, so he doesn't really need to take a lot of chances. Now, this expansion over here is gonna get killed for sure. A lot of drones are going to die as well. But what exactly is Kelazhur gonna be able to do against this? He sees the siege tanks unsieging, Lambo that is, and he decides to now commit with the Lingbane Hydra! Big detonations over here. That planetary fortress is not gonna be long behind or far behind. 43 SCVs have gone down, but in the meantime, I mean, the siege tank counterattack, much like we saw 20 minutes ago, is actually getting a whole lot of work in. Okay. Zerg, trying to see if he can close out the game right here, right now. There is still a bit of an army available, but Kelazhur is dead broke. He's got no mining anymore here whatsoever. Yeah, a little bit of gas maybe every once in a while. I mean, it at least said 11 there earlier, but other than this one mineral field, there's nothing available. The siege tank counterattack, though, not to be underestimated, I suppose, but problem is, last time I checked, siege tanks, they don't shoot up. There's gonna be Vipers for blinding clouds and abductions, there's gonna be Zerglings, and of course, there's gonna be Brute Lords as well. Kelazhur had a few moments in this game where I think he could have won it. There were a few moments where he had a phenomenal unit composition that definitely was better than the Zergs. But those engagements that he took, they were definitely not ideal. A few of the tanks managed to separate themselves from the pack, but I don't think these lads are gonna go home either, as now they get found by the Zerglings. At least they're gonna get a few more kills before they will ultimately go down. Siege tanks over here on the left did siege up, and apparently, actually, where did the Brute Lords go? The Brute Lords? Okay, well, they were already tasked with fighting up north once again. The siege tanks here apparently get to chill for a little bit longer. Kelazhur decides to stay in the game, but I think at this moment he must realize as well that he's been outmined for such a long time. Hatchery over here once again retaken by the Zerg. He's now even mining out some of those minerals that have been nibbled away at by those SCVs with their little drilly hands. Kelazhur, he's got ghosts, he's got siege tanks, he's got a Thor, he's got a Viking, and he's got a Dream. But at this point, I believe it requires a disconnect for Lambo to end up losing this game. And even then, right, this was played at HomeStory Cup. Even then, I think the referee would call the game over. I guess we could continue from replay. GG, well played is called, and it's Lambo who obtains the victory.